Hi everyone. In this video, we will be covering how to use generative AI, specifically ChatGPT, for solving problems in Excel. The focus is going to be on using text-based and image-based prompts to generate Excel formulas to achieve our final outcome. Let us get started with the first example. In the first example, we have a list of issues from a financial complaints dataset, and we would like to see how ChatGPT can generate a formula for us to classify these issues into 4 levels of criticality or severity. I'll come to ChatGPT now. In the ChatGPT window, I am using the 4O model. My prompt is going to be very straightforward in this case. Generally, when I'm using ChatGPT for Excel, I like to start with the 2 words use Excel so that it categorically knows that in the output I want an Excel formula. You can press Shift Enter to break the prompt into different lines. I'm going to start by writing my prompt now. Now, a lot of times users feel that they are not able to get the right output, and that has to do with the amount of information they supply to ChatGPT or they input into the model, whether it is ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Grok, Copilot, or any of these other tools, or chat LLMs rather. But the structure of the prompt is what is most important. So sometimes users miss out on sharing something that is very important, but since that information was not supplied to the model might make an assumption of its own to fill that gap. So it is crucial that you specify all the relevant inputs. There are 2 methods of doing this. If you don't know what all information you should give to ChatGPT, the best way is to ask from it. So I'll show you that first. I have a list of issues from a financial complaints data set. I want to categorize the issues into 4 levels of criticality: critical, high, medium, and low. Can you generate and I will give you a list of issues. Help me with the customized formula. Now, there's nothing absolutely wrong with this prompt, right? I have mentioned what tool or language I want to work with. I have specified what I have. I have specified how I want the output and the method of the output as well, which is going to be an Excel formula. Now, if you feel that this prompt is not sufficient and it might not generate the correct result for you, I like to go with something I called as prompt refinement. I start by instructing ChatGPT that I will give it a prompt. I want it to refine the prompt. Do not generate an output. Only refine my prompt. Sometimes, even if you specify that you want a prompt refinement, the model sometimes generates an output in response to your prompt. We don't want the output. We want a more structured prompt. So it says that I can give it my prompt, it can refine it for clarity, precision, and effectiveness. I'm going to share what I had written earlier, and it is now writing a more detailed prompt based on my original input. And it tells you why this is more specific. So here it has added that I want to categorize based on specific keywords or patterns in the issue description, which is crucial, which I had not mentioned. Everything else automatically, I think, is fairly okay. So I can just copy this prompt. I can come back. Let's edit this and let's input my refined prompt here. Press send and let's see what formula ChatGPT generates for us. So yeah, first it is going to ask for the key patterns or the data set. Now there are 2 ways you can do this. You can either give it a sample image, but an image would never, encompass all the 80 rows that I have here, and you could have more data. So I'm going to paste my list of issues directly into the model, the 78 issues that I have here as a sample. And now it is asking me for the criteria. So I don't want to define a particular criteria because again, then I'll have to manually sift through the data. So I'll say you can decide the criteria. Again, if you have a criteria in mind, please go ahead, define it. But right now I don't want to spend time defining a criteria. So it is going to do it for me. Now, what it is doing right now is it is automatically categorizing these directly in GPT. So if I look at my original prompt or the customized prompt, it missed out on specifying, or no, actually it has specified that I need a formula. So let us see what output ChatGPT generates for us. Okay, so it has done both of those things. It has categorized it here as well. So the issues have been categorized here. Plus it is also giving me a Excel function. Let's copy the function. Let's come back. Coincidentally, our data is in not in A2 but rather A4. So right now the prompt refers to the value from A2. Let's quickly edit the prompt. So edit the formula rather. I'm just going to replace A2 with A4. Let me do that very quickly. A2 and then that becomes A4. I want to replace all, close that, copy the formula, come back to Excel, and I can drag the formula down and is categorizing these issues for me into high, medium, and low. Right? This is the formula that it has generated for me. Again, the formula might not be absolutely correct. You have to remember that with GPT, you have to ensure that you're able to validate the results always, right? Like I said, in this case, if you had a criteria in mind or you had some specific keywords that you were looking for, you could share those with GPT. Else, you could rely on the output that it has generated for you. It is doing a keyword-based search, and it is using the search function to generate the output. I've just taken a screenshot of the formula to share with you what it looks like right here. Right, so that's quite a long and lengthy formula that we have here, but I think that's okay for now. Yeah, perfect. So there you go. You have a list of issues, and GPT just help you categorize those issues into 4 levels of criticality. Now, this is a problem in a lot of different situations. This was for financial complaints. I have worked with a client, or rather helped a client with categorizing IT related tickets where complaints are raised by employees and they want to categorize that for them. The client was doing it manually. You could rely on GPT and you could have a formula that is using keywords as well. If you want to simplify it further, you could also have a mapping table with specific list of keywords categorized into high, medium, low. And if those issues are appearing again and again, they could be categorized into the correct level of criticality. Perfect. Let's move on to the next example. I want to, from this bank dataset, which is a bank statement, I want to extract IFSC MICR codes that are text, and I also want to count the number of transactions against each bank. So let's see how we can do that. Now the formula for this is not very complex. We could write the formula on our own as well. It's a simple function to validate whether the value in column D is a text or not, and only that value should be extracted. So there's a function called is text that allows you to check whether a value is text or not. I could combine that with an if function to get the correct output. Similarly, for count of transactions, we could use a count if with a reference to column E itself directly, and the criteria would also be E4, and we could generate that as well. But let's see how GPT can help us with this. I'm just going to copy my problem statement here. I'm going to come back to GPT and I'm going to go to new chat, and in the new chat I'm going to paste my output. Remember, when you're copying and pasting from Excel, press Ctrl Shift V. That does not paste the image. Now I have two tasks, so I'm going to break it down into two tasks. So I'm going to say use Excel task 1 from column from D4, right? From D4, extract text, extract value if it is a text, else not text. That's a text input I'm sharing, that it should include that in the formula. And my task 2 is going to be in E4, from E4 rather, count the instance for each occurrence of a value. I'm going to press send and let's see what formula GPT generates for us. For task 1, it is giving me a simple formula. Like I mentioned, we can use a simple if statement here. I can copy, come back, come to the function and paste. I specified my cell reference, otherwise I would have to manually update it. So I am going to paste the formula and you can see that I have got the result for the first cell. If I just double click at the corner here, I should be able to get the other results as well. And we can quickly validate that wherever there is a text value, it is giving you an output. And in case there is a number, that output is showing not text. We could have displayed blank or any other custom value as well. And to count how many times each value appears in column E, we can use this formula. Let's see what the formula does for us. And there's a slight error here in the way I had written the prompt. So I don't want a total count, I want an instance-wise count. So here it tells me that Akhand Anand Co-op Bank is appearing 8 times, which is these 8 times. I want an instance-wise count to get the number of transactions that have happened for that bank in a sequence. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to say that, or I can modify my original prompt, instance-wise count. And I think that should do the job. So rather than specifying count for each occurrence, I want to say that I want an instance-wise count, and it gives me a different formula this time. I can come back, paste my formula, and I can drag my formula down by doing a simple double click here, and I get an instance-wise count right here. So you can see that up till this point, which is right here, I get 8. Then for the new bank, it starts the count at 1 again. So what this formula basically does is, rather than checking the value in the entire column together, it freezes the top of the list and the bottom of the list or the bottom of the range keeps expanding. So you're not searching in the entire column together like the previous formula. You're searching up to a particular row and counting till that row how many times has the value appeared. And we're able to get the correct output as well. Perfect. 2 on 2 for GPT. Let's move on to the next example. One of the most unclean or one of the most common data formats that people face issues with is dates, because they might come from internal systems, ERPs in different formats. Dates might be collected manually. You have data coming from different regions and people might have collected dates in different formats. Sometimes the date format on the Windows or the system is incorrect and that gets captured in Excel. Now there are different methods of solving this. There is a formula method. I can do this using text to columns as well. But let's try to do it with the formula method. I'm going to come and open a new chat. Again, you could do these on Gemini, Claude, or any other tool. I'm just doing them on GPT for convenience. I have a paid version and I would like to make the most of it. I'm going to say use Excel. I have a list of dates starting from, this is before, generate a formula to convert the dates into valid dates. In case the date is already a valid date, keep it as it is. Now here I could also, share a screenshot or give it my list of dates, because without that, it might not necessarily know what errors or what inconsistencies are there in my dates, right? So it is generating a formula for me. Let's try to do the formula first, and then if the formula does not work, let's try to do it with a different method. And here what it is doing is it is telling me which of the dates are invalid, which is okay, right? And these two other three results are still correct, but in Excel dates are essentially numbers, so I can just press Ctrl Shift 3 to convert them to numbers. So here it is telling me which is an invalid date. I can come back and modify my original prompt. In case the date is invalid, help me rectify. Now I would need to give it some samples that instruct it or inform GPT if my dates are or what format my dates are in currently. So I could paste my dates right there. I could press send, and let's see the formula that it gives us right now. So it's using a simple substitute function. Now again, one could write this function. The function is not very complex, but if you can save time doing something, why not do it? And let's see if we're able to get the correct output. A simple control shift 3. Remember, in Excel, dates are essentially numbers. So this was method 1, which was identifying invalid dates, and let me just rectify that. This was method 2, rectify invalid dates. Perfect. Here we go. One formula, one prompt, two formulas, and we're able to get the correct output. Let's move on to the next task. In the next example, I want to extract email ID and the recipient name from a list of text values. Again, you could do this with a lot of different functions. We have a function called text before that can very easily allow me to extract values before the delimiter in this case, which is going to be this angular bracket. But let's see what formula GPT generates for us. In the newer versions of Excel, we also have regex or regex formulas that allow us to extract basis a pattern in the text string. So we should be able to extract substrings by specifying a text pattern for emails as well as for names. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to come to GPT, open a new chat. I'm going to press paste my requirement, use Excel, extract email IDs and recipient names from values in B5. Now, one method is I give it some sample so that it is able to better learn from my inputs. I can ask it for both formulas that work with the newer version of Excel, which is going to be the regex formulas, and with the older version of Excel that are compatible with the older version of Excel. Give me formulas that work with newer and older versions of Excel. I could give it a sample of my data, right, so that it is able to understand correctly. And I didn't need to paste the text values. I have pasted the image, so that should be sufficient. Let me just delete these. There's some issue with my system. There's a flicker on the screen, which I'm not sure why it is happening, but that's okay. We have pasted our input values. We've written our prompt. Let us see what formula GPT generates for us. Now, in the newer version of Excel, GPT says I could use these formulas, which is text between, but I don't think text between exists. Yeah, there is no text between formula. So you also have to remember that sometimes GPT is going to generate formulas for you that don't exist at all, right? So you'll have to go back and tell GPT that, the formula does not exist. And before, in the older versions, it is giving us this formulas. Let us rectify this later. Let's first try the older version formulas. And for name from B5, oh, I'm sorry, this is D5, not B5. So I can come back and modify that in my prompt quickly. Also, when you put an image in the prompt, you're not able to go back and modify. So I'm going to copy this and just put it in my notepad and quickly change B5 to D5. And I'm going to do a replace all. Copy the formula, come back, and is able to extract the email ID for me. I can drag the formula down. This is for email, so I can move it right here. And for the name, I can try the next formula. which is this one, recipient name. I can enter the result. I can quickly change that to D5, and it should be able to generate the formula for me or get me the output as well, right? Purely logical. Now, let us try to tell GPT that this does not exist. Now, I'm not sure if I don't have this in the latest version. Text between Excel. Let's see if that function exists. No, there's no function like that. Okay, so I was correct. Now, GPT sometimes makes mistakes, so you'll have to say that this does not exist. You have to specify that. Can you give me regex extract? I know that regex extract is a function, so I'm going to ask for that particular function. And you see that it still doesn't get it. It says text between doesn't exist in older versions, right? And it says you can use regex extract in Google Sheets or rely on mid, find, etc. I'm going to come back and edit my prompt. Does not exist in Excel 365, which is the latest version. So it was thinking that I have to go to Google Sheets because Google Sheets has all the latest versions that an Excel would have. So it says that it is not available in Excel. Since you're using Excel, you can use regex extract. And again, it is not able to understand that this is available in Excel. But let's try the formula for email IDs. So I'm going to do this right here. We tried the older versions or the older formulas, those work perfectly. I'm going to say D5 and is able to extract the email IDs for me. And let's try names. This is going to be D5 and is able to extract the names for me as well. Now you will see a minor inconvenience here, which is this is email, this is name, this is the old method, and this is the new method. Even after specifying my input, you will see that at some places GPT was not able to give me the correct output, and the reason for that essentially is just one second, let me just center that across selection and do that right here as well. Just bit finicky about the formatting. Okay, yeah. So you'll see that the regex formulas are not able to give you the correct output. Ideally they should, but it's still making some error, but I'm not going to give it another attempt. The idea here is to showcase that something like this can be automated, or something like this can be solved using writing prompts and getting the right output. But you need to still have an awareness as to what function exists, what the function does, what arguments or inputs the function takes in for you to become better at it. Remember, GPT, generative AI as a whole technology is going to make someone better who already has a lot of foundational knowledge. Someone who just uses it for copy paste will not be able to go a long way, right? So you'll need to get your fundamentals right. We'll come to the last example now, which is going to be based on conditional logic. Okay, here we go. 06 conditional logic. We have a very simple formula. We have a very simple data set here, and the formula is also not going to be very complex. I could write an if function or an if s function to categorize these, or in Excel we have a switch function as well that allows me to write this as well. So multiple parameters or multiple formulas or functions or combination of functions that you can utilize to get the right output. I'm going to come back, go to new chat, and put in my prompt right here. My bad, Control Shift V. Sales start from, this is before. I don't need to give it my numbers essentially, because it is going to check if the value is greater than 25,000 or less than 25,000, and it's going to categorize it in different buckets. And I'm not, yeah. Now I did not ask for that rupees function to be involved, but for some reason it has decided to put that right in there. Now it is giving me an output where the output does not seem, yeah, it seems absolutely correct, right? Now, I did not ask for this specific format. I'm not sure why it picked up this specific format. Maybe because of something else that I might have asked earlier and it got saved into memory. But you can see that the formula is able to, or it is able to generate the formula for me, right? and is giving you a quick explanation for the formula as well. If you want a simple if formula as well, you can try to do that as well. So can you give me an if and if s? So these are two separate functions that you can rely on, and it can give you an if and an if s as well. Now again, I'm not sure why it is taking that rupees symbol into consideration, but that's okay for now. We're not concerned with the format, and it has found an, okay, there might be a bracket missing here and there, and you will see that we're able to get the right output, and yeah, there we go. And for the final one, you can copy for the if s function, and you can get the correct results as well. My data should ideally be sorted in ascending order. That will make it easy for us to understand if the slabs have been organized correctly. And there we go, the slabs have been organized correctly. This is using a different combination of functions, right? This is using an if function, this is using an if s function, right? And GPT was able to generate excellent formulas for me in one single prompt. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you liked this demonstration, and stay tuned for more content on generative AI in general, and a lot of content around Excel, PowerPoint, etc. We're doing a lot of workshops for different clients, and I'll be recording recap sessions from those workshops, sharing what problems we solve for our clients as well. Do subscribe to the channel if you find the content helpful. Thank you.